Hello, welcome to Five Guys, Movies, and Fries, a podcast where four guys get together roughly every 3 weeks to spend about 2 hours talking about one movie. I am one of your hosts, Jeff. We also have Will,
Hello.
Knacker,
Hiya.
and Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
Brick is a 2005 American neo-noir mystery thriller written and directed by Rian Johnson in his directorial debut. It stars Joseph Gorden-Levitt. It's a mystery, murder mystery set in an American high school about a kid named Brendan who is contacted by an ex-girlfriend asking for his help. She's gotten involved in some pretty shady dealings. She later recants the ask for help, and then turns up dead. So he is trying to figure out who killed her, how she ended up dead in the first place, the situation that she was in. Hijinks ensue. This is a movie that was very formative to me in my early film enjoying years, and a movie I've been very excited to revisit.
I'm glad I could come back to this movie. I remember watching it once, right around the first time you talked about how much you loved the movie, and that was many, many years ago. So coming back to this was a real treat because feel like I have a better eye for what happens. I just sometimes I'll be my own worst critic and say I just have sometimes I have trouble keeping up with rapid fire information being delivered at me, and so yeah, on a first watch for Brick, I knew I liked it, but I knew I didn't piece really everything together because I just even when it comes to just standard gumshoe detective shit, I can get lost pretty easily.
The dialogue doesn't help.
Yeah, I will say though it's I know it's kind of splitting hairs, but it feels like the way the dialogue is delivered in this movie. It really feels like they're doing it on a stage, like on a play, like in an auditorium. I enjoyed that. Yeah, just the way the actors just position themselves on the screen, the way it's framed, the way the script is going down. The script is the writing in all Rian Johnson flicks and the content I've seen has been awesome, just amazing. Yeah, I like the cast. I recognize, of course, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the guy who plays the Pin. I know I've seen him in a couple things. Luke Haas, I believe.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely seen him in a couple things. Yeah, I really enjoyed just how the characters, each character sticks to who they are. There's a lot of great chemistry between actors portraying their characters. I liked. Yeah, overall, I really liked the setting of doing a detective noir story in the middle of a high school, and it's played. It's the high school itself it's that's just it. It's just the setting. All the characters and who they're written like it fits the detective noir setting so well.
It's very pulpy feeling for sure.
I actually
Yeah.
kind of disagree.
Okay.
I think I like the idea. I like the idea of the setting. I like that it's set in a high school. I like it feels fresh, instead of it just being the atypical private eye pulp. You know what I mean? Dark city, dark hall, dark alleys, shit like that. But
Yeah.
I think it creates this dissonance where like nothing feels right. You know what I mean? I think I hate to compare it to a movie that I like a lot less than this, but it kind of feels like that Romeo and Juliet with Leo DiCap and
Yes.
everybody's like quoting
Yes.
Shakespeare with guns and shit. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it feels. Like not as strongly as that movie, but it definitely has that kind of vibe. And that kind of keep in mind, I love this movie, but it definitely takes me out of it.
Okay. I totally agree with you. I didn't want to go first because I have a lot of negative things to say about this movie.
Mm,
It reminds me of Bugsy Malone. Have you heard of that one
a little bit.
from the 70s? It's children, but they're all dressed like, gangsters from the 30s. They're doing gangster
Yeah,
shit.
Okay. Yeah.
The little girls are in, dresses and acting seductively. It's really weird. It's one of my most hated movies. I hate the trope of children who act like mini adults. And in this one, you're getting some of that. It's close because they're in high school, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Why is this a film noir in high school?
If the kids had played more like kids, I think I would have liked it better. Like we get little glimpses of it. There's that really neat scene where him and the Pin are sitting on the beach and they're talking about Tolkien. And talking about Tolkien is like in quotation marks. They're barely talking about Tolkien, but like we get a glimpse of them as high school students versus like whatever caricatures they're playing. And had the whole movie been played that straight, I think it would have been a lot easier to like, I don't know.
I agree. It could have been a different movie if they would have tried to find the humor in it, like the juxtaposition.
Mhm.
Like maybe Brendan wants to go, solve the mystery, but he can't because he has detention or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's very few moments that actually shows that they're high school students.
There was a few times where I was like, is this supposed to be a fucking parody of like this kind of shit? Because it's so, like you guys said, it kind of feels like almost forced into the high school arena because I mean they don't act like kids almost ever. In fact, when he's talking to like the vice principal or whatever, it's almost like a dick talking to his
Yes.
chief.
Yes.
Like and that's like throughout the whole movie is like that, right? Like when he's talking to the gal who first shows up with like in the red dress, like all of that is very sexual and seductive and doesn't have a lot of high school to it. Not that high school isn't sexual and seductive and stuff, but you know what I mean. Like it doesn't feel high schooly at all. It's
Yeah.
it's
The principal the principal's breathing down my neck. I'm 2 days away from graduation.
yeah. It's
So, like-
it's just I don't know. It definitely it doesn't. There's like a disconnect there for sure, which I still liked, but yeah, it doesn't feel quite right for sure.
So the dissonance is there. I just feel like there's also times where the high school setting also opens a door for a little bit of comic relief, like the scene where the pin and Brendan are talking up in his mom's kitchen.
Yes,
that's why I feel opens up like I get how it plays tug of war between like making everything credible, but everybody, all these young people just acting like it's an Italian fucking drug deal.
yeah. No, I like that a lot.
But I do. There are moments that I like it, and moments I don't like it.
The potheads when he first runs into them. I think they're potheads, right? The one like the
Yeah.
ones. Yeah, like
Behind the
that.
pie, behind
Yeah.
coffee and pie
Pie
online.
Yes, that shit was all very funny. I thought, and like I don't know, it added a little bit of brevity to this otherwise definitely really dark and fairly serious movie. I mean, fuck, man, just Joseph Gordon-Levitt alone, like he fucking man, I don't know.
Puts it down.
Yeah, he kills it in this movie. He's so good as just like a serious. I would love to see him do that kind of role again. I mean, he kind of does that role in Inception a little bit, like kind of a serious, like just fucking badass, and he's great in that movie too, of course.
I'll say he was also a little bit of that in Looper.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
He plays that kind of straight man, like really really badass dude role really well, and he's handsome as fuck in this movie too.
A lot of people say that. I don't get it. Like he's dressed like a dork, like someone who just like his rolled up jeans and his old shoes.
I don't know.
Depending on the character you see him as, I mean, he's still a good looking guy. He has kind of a turtleneck on him, but his head stands pretty tall. His head stands pretty tall over his shoulders, but that's just his form.
His
face.
I don't hate it. He almost in this movie he almost looks a little Heath Ledgery. Like he's
I see
about
that.
his facial structure and shit. Like it just
rubbed off when they were
totally
in
see
10
that.
Things. Yeah.
Of course, the movie's playing on my TV silently next to me, so it's currently him having the final big reveal laydown discussion with Laura.
I do love that scene.
Yeah,
that
it's really
Very
good.
good.
It just lays everything down for everybody to know how it happened.
the fuck does she whisper in his ear? I couldn't quite catch it. I thought she
We'll
said
get to that.
motherfucker. Oh, okay. All right, well.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
I was going to ask you guys that later. That's not usually the kind of shit I like to focus on, but I do definitely want to see what you
It
guys
has to be mentioned.
What else you got
Excuse
for us, Knack? Are we moving on? How about you, Billiam?
Yeah, I really liked it. It was not as good as the first time I watched it for sure. I have changed so much since then in so many ways, and so has my movie appreciation and how I appreciate movies and all that. It's changed a lot for me. This was definitely more of a, like, I guess not angsty teen because I was like a college kid at the time, but fucking like angsty college kid like loved this movie. Whereas me, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. Like I like what they're doing here. I like the acting's pretty good, and for the most part, and I really like the cinematography in this movie. Like for the most part, the cinematography is real fucking good.
Yeah.
A lot of that is the product of budget. The budget was really small for this flick. I think it was like $450,000, and a lot of that was money that he like talked his family into giving him.
Saw that, yeah.
So there's a lot of tricks with the way that he shoots things.
It's
I
clever.
would assume in order to save money, like the transitions on the stairs every time they go into the Pin's basement. I would assume it's because they probably couldn't get good crane shots.
It works.
Like,
it did work really well. Like even though I could tell Laura was coming up the stairs right as he's going down. The Pin's walking down the door.
That fade felt a little corny to me, but I also kind of liked it. I don't know. This movie,
that's what I'm saying.
It felt like somebody's first movie and them experimenting, and I found that impossibly charming.
Yeah. There's like a couple other parts too where like I don't know if you'd say transition, but like when he gets punched by Tug right out front of his car, like it like shows him being hit kind of, and then like the camera like does this kind of weird like zoom to the side, and I don't know, that worked for me even though it felt kind of weird and jarring. It's like that's what a fucking punch would probably feel like.
Over stylized.
Yeah, a little like that's definitely a lot of this movie was like as far as the cinematography goes was a little over stylized. But once again, like I kind of liked it. Like it worked for me. Liked the music a lot too.
Fucking A, the music was great. Fucking A.
We were talking about Twin Peaks right before the cast, and I was looking at the music on the wiki, and it said that he was inspired for some of the music by Twin Peaks.
Oh, that's cool.
That's true. He also said that when he was, I think his cousin did the score for this movie. He said he used the Twin Peaks music as a placeholder before he figured out what they wanted for the score.
Okay. So there's definitely some influence on this movie from Twin Peaks, and you can kind of see that a little bit. It is kind of weird.
It's a small town mystery, yeah.
And that's definitely another thing that I liked about it. I find that kind of shit really charming, especially when it's all shot like in one location like that. It really adds some like credibility to it. Is this where like Rian Johnson grew up or something?
Yes.
He filmed a lot of this like around a town, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
so
he filmed it. He filmed it at the high school that he went to.
So he knew all the good spots to get film, and like the tunnel alone, and then like using the like A mark to like signify that's where they were supposed to meet up and stuff. All that's really, really, really good. That's smart stuff.
It says here that he cited spaghetti westerns and Cowboy Bebop as influences on his visualization of the film.
Cool. I could see that. Yeah. I was gonna say too. The like the main theme or whatever has like a bit of a westerny sound to it, which was a little odd, like at odds in my opinion with the classic pulp, detective noir feel. But it works. It works in this movie. But it's definitely, I don't know. There's a lot of things in this movie that don't mesh typically in other movies, but he kind of makes it all work in here. He like stitches it all together pretty well, I felt. Yeah, I don't know. I've got plenty of other like just little random notes, but overall, yeah, I thought this movie was pretty decent. Not as good as I had thought before. Like I said, I definitely felt like it was a little melodramatic at times, and a couple scenes where I was like, it's a little cringy, but it was, at the time, it was pretty good. What about you, Joe?
Well, I'm a big fan of Knives Out, Glass Onion, the episodes of Breaking Bad that Rian Johnson directed. Not too hot on this movie though. I do want to say that the things I like about it, it's a very impressive and an ambitious debut. I do appreciate the low budget indie element. They made it with very little money.
Do you think this movie is better or worse in that kind of a way than Bottle Rocket, for instance?
I think it's worse. I like Bottle Rocket much more.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But do you think, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you think that's because of the way that Bottle Rocket is done, or Wes Anderson's just a better director, writer kind of deal?
With Bottle Rocket, I like the story and the aesthetic much more. In the acting, I think it's funny. I mean, and my criticisms of this movie is that it's dissonant. There's a disconnect between what it's trying to be. I don't know what this movie has to say. I feel like it's kind of aping the noir genre.
Yes. I can get behind that.
But like I was saying, the things I like, the acting's very competent. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is great. Great directing, cinematography. The score, there was a few pieces of music that I didn't like, but when it was good, it was really good.
I'll say the
theme.
xylophone. Like hearing. I don't know
Well,
what instrument it was. If
that's
it's a
not what it
xylophone
is.
or a marimba. No. Okay.
No, it's wine glasses.
Oh, that's
Oh,
thank you. Holy
neat.
God.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's
Sorry.
cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson said that his cousin was making the music, and he was banging on all kinds of things, playing instruments with bows that aren't normally played with bows, doing all kinds of weird industrial things like that.
How cool.
Yeah, it's a very good score. I like it. I like it a lot. That's probably my favorite thing about it. But at the same time, I do like that someone took a chance and said, let's put noir mixed with something else. We've seen this before with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it worked extremely well. But that's because that movie's funny. The dark, cynical tones of noir and the colorfulness and the wackiness of that movie, they just blend together perfectly. With this one, you got the high school stuff. You got high school tropes like cliques. There's jocks and whatever, and that's it. It doesn't just delve into that too much. It doesn't play anything for laughs. I just don't know why this movie exists. Why Rian Johnson was reading these Dashiell Hammett novels and thought, I gotta put this to a high school background. I just don't get it.
Yeah, if this movie had been like funnier, I think it would have been a lot better. It's just so fucking grim. Like, for real though. If this really happened in real life, it'd be like, and I'm sure something similar has, be like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is like a horrible story to hear. And it ends bad too. Like, not that the ending is bad, but like, Jesus, the end is like,
I think some of the problem is with Brendan. Brendan kind of feels like a Mary Sue a little bit. Like, dude, like if you some of my favorite pulpy noir is with a protagonist who is kind of like a fuck up and is shown to be human and make mistakes. And I feel like Brendan isn't portrayed in that way. I feel like
Right.
Brendan's a little too on the nose and like what he's doing all the time. You know what I mean? Like he
as
does.
the detective, yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't feel as grounded. Like he feels, I don't know, and he's a kid on top of it. So it's
Right.
you know what I mean?
It doesn't
like,
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
like
in,
you see
that
this
is in
kid
line
who's better
with
than
that is in line with noir, like the Maltese Falcon, Sam Spade, Philip Marlowe. A lot of detectives are just cool guys who do cool stuff. They take punches and they know exactly how to solve the mystery. But it doesn't make sense that it's a high school kid doing it. And why does he call the police bulls? It's 2003.
I did notice that and write that down too. Like, there's a lot of like whatever 50s or 60s like jargon used.
Yeah, the jargon, it takes me out of it. Like it could be played for laughs, but it's never funny that
And that
they're talking like a Dashiell Hammett novel.
it wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to like play it up and ham it up, but also wants to play it straight. And because of that, it just, like we said, it just feels dissonant. Like it feels disconnected. It feels like two different things happening at once.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it was like supposed to be a parody, because it really at certain times it's just like, this is a fucking parody of like detective, noir films. It really feels that way.
I do want to say I feel like there are flaws to Brendan that kind of did just kind of peek out. I mean, he's clearly trying to get over having whatever has happened between him and Emily initially without him knowing that she was carrying. And also the one thing that's mentioned at the beginning of the movie is that when he talks to the phone on Emily, she says that she did what he told her to do with the brick. So that tells me that he knows he's done something really fucked up, even as a teenager or as a human being. That has a little bit more grounding to me.
Yeah, I was gonna mention too, like we know that he used to be a drug dealer, so like he's definitely was a fuck up. Like he was with all these different girls through high school, and I mean he got this chick pregnant, right? Like, isn't that what we are pretty much led to believe at the end? Like,
I mean, in regards to his personal life, yeah, it's not exactly the best, but in regards to everything else,
he's like the perfect detective.
yeah, he's like right on top of it. There's a difference between like if he's like in a fight and then in the fight like scanning his surroundings and figuring out a way out of it against an opponent that he can't beat versus going in with said plan immediately and just like cleanly pulling it off. I think I just can't buy out of a 17-year-old kid at a California high school. And like
Yeah.
if you're gonna play it that direction, then you should lean harder. It's just I don't know.
He
You
did
like Go
have
ahead.
Brain backing him up the whole time too, which like I liked that a lot. That dynamic right there is great, and it lends a little bit more credibility to the fact that he's just like always being able to pull shit off. But I
Mm.
mean, it's not enough for sure.
It's a little
definitely
on the
some
nose that his
disconnect
name is
there,
Brain.
too.
Putting a brain style character in just about any movie makes me keep them on the suspect list
Yo,
constantly, all the time.
Oh.
because he didn't hit you over the head with it hard enough with the character's name, and like the last scene of the movie, the way that it's shot, Brain walks out of
Behind
Brendan's
his-
head and then
Yeah.
back
Yeah,
into
yeah.
Brendan's head.
Wait, so was Brain not
I'm
actually
sure
a
there's
real
some
person?
fan theory somewhere that's like,
Yeah.
is Brain just no, it's just a figment of his imagination, bro.
It's just his brain.
It's just Fight Club 0.5.
Joe, you know a little bit more about noir than I do. Is a detective's sidekick, is them being in the military a common trope? So like Watson's or
Yeah, Watson's in the military. No, I don't think so. No,
okay.
not that I've encountered. But Brain is his sidekick?
Well, Brain is like his op man or whatever. But I noticed he was wearing dog tags, and then I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about
Hmm.
Watson having been in the military, and I was like, I wonder if that's like a trope. I'm like, that's just them playing on the trope.
I don't think so. No.
Maybe they're
No,
from his
not at
dad or
all.
something.
Yeah,
This movie would have benefited a lot from like diving into some of the characters more and just cutting out a lot of like the frivolous like shit. There's a lot of scenes that you could just get rid of. Like Joe said, like they serve no purpose essentially towards whatever the fuck it is this movie's trying to say.
I don't know. I feel like the way that we're fed the information in regards to the mystery, a good portion of the conversations I feel like are fine where they are, and I actually really like the pacing of this movie. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't mind the
Yeah, yeah.
pacing. It's just if we were to redo this movie, right? Like we'd want to cut a bunch of that shit, dive more into like the characters, make it seem more grounded, and probably add
I
some
think
more
the problem could
humor
just be
and that
fixed
kind of
with how
shit.
they're written. Like if they just felt more real instead
Yeah.
of
Fair.
just the cutouts.
What
You
did you
know,
guys think about the premonitions that he had?
Was there
I,
more
don't know, I
than
didn't really
one?
read too much into it.
Well, I guess there's only really one premonition, but he kind of has that reoccurring nightmarish like vision a few times throughout the movie. Did that work for you guys? I thought like the very first time when it was an actual premonition, that was kind of cool, but also was like, wait a minute, is this like a supernatural movie? What the fuck's going on here?
What exactly did he uh, dream of? I don't remember.
Premonition.
And none of it's a premonition. He has the first vision that he has is of the tunnel, and that's what tells him that it's the tunnel.
Yep.
But he doesn't like
that's what
see
I'm
her
thinking of.
dead in the tunnel or anything when he sees it. He just sees the tunnel.
Well, he sees her in the tunnel, and then he sees the plastic wrap that is what he finds the brick in later. Remember the plastic wrap?
It's also what he has
shoots
her
out of the
body in.
water?
But
Yeah, and what the body's in. So I feel like
But-
that's kind of premonition-y.
the first, I'm almost positive that first scene does not have her in it.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely does. I just watched the movie.
Yeah, they're standing. I believe she's when
Standing,
we
yep.
piece this together that she's somewhere near the tunnel. She's standing in the tunnel. She's not lying dead in the tunnel.
Nope. Yeah, she's just standing there, and then like the plastic sheeting like shoots out of the water, kind of like at him, and that's what awakens him. And then he goes to the tunnel because he realizes that's what the A is, and he sees her body there.
That's
So
got to be
ba-
a blatant Twin Peaks reference too, right? Plastic fucking
Hmm.
body in the water, like the way it should, the shots of Emily's hair strands were in the water. That was instant Twin Peaks to me.
There you go.
Anyway, peppering that in.
Yeah, so I don't know, like I kind of liked it. Like that kind of shit usually works for me, but I could see how like people would be like, "What the fuck are they doing here?" Like this, Ryan, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Be like a fucking psychic or something? What the fuck? But I appreciate that kind of foreshadowing, like yeah, vision-y kind of shit. I don't know.
I don't think it takes away from the movie at all. Like, yeah.
Fair.
It was something he deduced and realized in a dream, essentially.
I liked the sound editing of the footsteps in pursuit. That's the scene of
Yeah.
him of the
Yeah.
lug coming after him with the blade, like those footsteps in those like empty hallways and shit. That was on. I love the sound editing in that.
No,
That scene.
that scene has like lived in my head. Like I don't know, like just the clicking of the heels on the ground. Like I like had that. Out of everything in this movie, I remember that as clearly as everything else. Like it's just.
And then it kind of seems like a hint now that he making it because he has to take his shoes off to fake the guy out at the end of it. So the footsteps are dominant throughout almost the whole scene, and then he uses that to his advantage.
Definitely one of the best scenes in the movie for sure. And even when the dude like hits the pole, like the sound design right there is great.
Yeah, that sound effect was great. I loved it.
I feel like there was definitely parts of this movie where Rian Johnson couldn't help but like just couldn't help himself and he had no stopgap in regards to his writing. Like he was just like, oh, I'm so clever right here and I know exactly what I'm doing right here. And I think that left some holes. And I think, for instance, you're telling me this kid is supposed to be like, both him and Brain are supposed to know so much about like the underground, right? Like Brain is super in the know about everything's going on, but they can't pick out what the terms brick and pin mean, like in context.
Thank you. I even had that in my notes. Like they bring up drugs in the same sentence, like brick. I don't know what that could mean. Like it's not until later when he uses the other terms like Brock and Pike and whatever it was that
I am so.
It was a disappointing moment. It really was.
Dude, when that last scene breaks out with that like big fight at the Pin's house, my first thought immediately was, I hope the mom's okay, because his mom is so sweet. Even got it in a little country glass. No, I'm very torn about this movie. I like this movie a lot. But it's just, I don't know. It's really hard for me to cling to any characters in any way that I really give a shit. And the times when I do, it's just so sparse. Like the scene on the beach helps me kind of connect with Brendan and Pin. And the scene where Brendan and M meet up behind the school during lunch, I thoroughly enjoy that scene.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because we see Brendan acting his age, you know what I mean? Like we see him acting like a high school kid. He's like begging her to come back, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." And just like the way he delivers it just feels really raw
to deal
and
with
real.
His own feelings.
Yeah, we get to see him feel like a human, which he doesn't in a lot of the movie.
Yeah. He's just too badass to be real.
It's also one of the reasons I really like Tug as a character. I mean, he's just a big old rage boy, but at least he shows emotion when a lot of people in this movie don't really. Like him and Dode are the two people that we really see a lot of emotional delivery out of in comparison to just about anybody else. We do get some from Brendan later too, in that scene with him and Laura Dannon. Laura?
Yeah, Laura.
When he's like crying in Tug's bed.
I like how you mentioned Tug's moments of humanity, like when he's got Brendan up against the wall, like a foot higher than him, and then Brendan mentions how the Pin got him angry. He's like, angry. Yeah, I understand. He lowers him to the floor. Like,
he
it was a real great moment there.
Well, he knows how to play people, which I did like. I liked the way that he plays with people in this movie. I would have liked it had, because Emily like touches on it and she says like, I don't like the way that you like manipulate people, and I wish we could have seen more of that. We could have seen more of that reflected on the Brain and him being like, yo, you're really manipulating a lot of people in this situation right here. Like if that could have been reflected as more of a negative trait than an offhand comment by M in one scene. I guess. Like,
I mean, we do know that. I mean, he for all we know, he manipulated Jer into taking the fall for the drugs that happened prior to all this.
Yep.
I mean, shit. A lot of this situation is because of him. There's like blood on this kid's hands, kinda.
He might be an unreliable, not narrator necessarily, but well, I guess kind of. But yeah, like unreliable storyteller, which I don't know. It doesn't really lend credibility to this movie. Really, this isn't the movie for that.
Yeah, I just wish I wish it would have been dialed down in one aspect. Like, had they not talked in the way that they did, which don't get me wrong, I kind enjoy seeing it, but at the end of the day, it makes it harder for me to get into the movie.
Yeah.
If they talked like normal human beings and kind of acted like normal human beings, I would have been a lot more invested in the movie, but it would have felt less stylized and been a lot more grounded. But I think I would have been okay with that. Like it really feels like he had this idea and he's just like, oh, I just gotta fucking get this on page. It's gonna be so good. They're in high school, but he says balls and fucking. You know what I
feel
mean?
like he was
Like,
flexing more in his writing than he was with the overall theme and setting. To be honest,
yeah, had somebody sat Ryan down and been like, "Okay, bro, you need to dial it back just a tiny bit." I think this movie could have really shined. There's the writing in this movie at times is really good and is really clever. I don't know.
Gone full bore into it. Like he's like stuck in this weird middle area where like he should have either went way more into it or dialed it back, like you said.
He's just got too many ingredients in this souffle. You know what I mean? He's just got too much shit going on.
In this teenage souffle.
But yeah, I mean, I do like the acting, given what's written for them. You know what I mean? Given what they were provided, I like the way that it's acted really well. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt chews a scene when he wants to. I also think, like I said, Tug and Dode chews a fucking scene too. I really like Dode a lot, actually.
Yeah, Dode did a great job. I've seen him in a couple other things too. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's usually pretty good. He's just
Kara,
got like a...
The actress who did Kara put out a pretty convincing mean bitch too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really good.
I like the different styles she was in almost every scene with the geisha makeup and
yeah, she looked really interesting there.
Tap dance outfit and whatnot. Those are all cute.
Did you guys like the poetry essentially that Laura's character did?
No, I cringed at that. I cringed like hell at that.
No, I didn't care for it at all. I thought it was corny as hell.
It didn't really work. I feel like she either needed to sing it a bit more or like not sing at all, because she kind of had like a little lilt to her voice there, and it just didn't work.
It was awkward.
He's out here having like a masquerade ball, like it's fucking 1950s secrets. Dude, how do you not get clowned on?
Where even was that? Like, where the fuck was Dude, that's so like one of the scenes I'm talking about that like you could have just cut all that. Like, get us that info somewhere else. Really have Brain just be like, here's the info from that scene. Like, we don't need any of that scene. It does not work.
Yeah, but had they approached it in a more grounded, like, had it not been some masquerade ass party and instead been like an atypical high school party and she was just like popular in the school, I would have bought that a lot better. You know what I mean?
That would have worked so much better, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I really think so.
Dial some of that shit back, dude. Like, yes, we know you really fucking love detective books and movies or whatever, but like, come on, man. It's teenage kids and like, what time is this set in? Like 2000 something?
Right.
There's parts of this movie that feel like he had it written in his notebook in high school when he was bored in math class, and he
was getting bullied because he was the fucking theater nerd or whatever.
It sounds like I'm really dogging on it, and I kind of am, but at the end of the day, I still find this movie entertaining to watch. Like, I do have a good time with this movie.
I do see myself watching it again in the future for sure.
Yeah, I do like the writing. I just don't like the writing with these characters in this setting. Like, there's some lines that are just really good and feel like hard-boiled detective shit. But
did you guys like Laura as the lady in red? It's like every detective noir has like a lady in red, right? Or like maybe not necessarily in red, but
like a femme fatale.
Femme fatale, yeah. Which is essentially the role she plays here, although I guess she fucking is the femme fatale. Yeah, we figure out.
It made me immediately suspicious of her, and that suspicion never went away.
Yeah,
I remember that even from the first time I watched the movie, I was like, she's got something to fucking do with it. And that just like...
He's sus the whole time too, so he fucking knew. It's like
and not enough work is done to make you want to trust her. You know what I mean? She doesn't really do a whole lot to earn that trust. We get that one scene where she like honks for Brendan to let him know that Dode's on his way to like the tunnel or whatever. But outside of that, she just seems like she's trying to get information on him and trying to get close to him so she can find out what's going on. It's like, I don't know, they kind of see right through it.
Yep.
Also, I don't quite understand her motivation, like she clearly comes from money. She's out here trying to steal a brick of heroin.
She had a crush on him. I mean, just like
Yeah.
when she mentions like nobody ever goes to bat for her, and the way he goes to bat for Emily is admirable. She loves that.
And
Yeah, but I don't think she set all this up just to get
She
close
plays
to Brendan.
everybody that's under her, and he can't be played. And so she takes up the challenge to play him.
Yeah, I think Knacker's got it right. That's like her motivation was because she didn't want to get fucked on this brick, but it wasn't a very far step for her to go to like, oh, I can fuck over Emily and then kill two birds with one stone because then I can get the man I want.
I don't think Brendan played into her plans.
No, of course not.
No.
He definitely didn't. But that, I mean,
She took up the challenge. I didn't say she won.
yeah. He's the perfect detective after all. He wasn't gonna fucking lose. So, although everybody lost at the end of this movie, basically, like he definitely lost.
There was a lot of casualties in this fucking movie.
If that was his kid, ooh boy, that's not happy. That's a fucking sad ending. Jesus Christ.
Well, that's what she's telling him. She's telling you that it's his kid.
Yeah, she could be playing him right there too, I guess, and that's kind of leads into the not necessarily like unreliable narrator, but just like we don't know it. It's so left up to not even an interpretation, just like fucking guessing.
What do you think she said?
That's not great writing. I thought she said motherfucker because I turned it up to like 100 and was like, I think she said motherfucker. And then that lends a little bit more credibility, kind of, to the fact that he did impregnate her, right? Because motherfucker, I don't know. That's just what I got out of it. Joe, what do you think? She said.
Yeah, that's the best guess. I tried looking it up. I think that's probably what she said.
Fair. You guys think M really did have his kid?
I don't think we have enough information.
The timeline makes sense. 3 months, and then.
But it all could be a lie anyways. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, wild to me that this movie plays out like they've been broken up for a while, when in all actuality they've been broken up for like a couple months.
But that works though. That is some high school ass shit. that makes sense.
Had it focused on that at all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like had it been played like, oh, it's actually been a couple months, like as a joke, or alternatively to show that he's being somewhat childish versus. You know what I mean? Like
I was played, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember the first time I watched this movie being incredibly surprised when I found out that it had been like 3 months. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I thought they'd been broken up for like a year and a half or something. Like I didn't realize it was nearly that.
Yeah, this kind of like goes into what we were saying too about like that kind of stuff should have been more to the forefront of the story, right? But it's just kind of like a throwaway line almost. Rian Johnson, what were you doing as a youngin'? This was your first movie? Come on, man. Oh wait, you're huge and famous now. Okay, you must have done something right.
Yeah, I think he understands that he needs to. I think comedy suits him better. Like if you put this up against like Knives Out or Glass Onion,
incomparable.
Yeah,
so much fucking better. Especially the first Knives Out. Jesus. Goddamn Christ, that movie is good.
Yeah, because it's either ham it up more or play it straighter. You know what I mean? He was like trying to walk that line in between and just didn't nail it in my opinion.
And Knives Out plays it up like it's even funnier, like way more like humorous and shit. And yet also like the mystery is way better and it's more serious in a way. And I don't know.
I really like the mystery in this movie a lot. Like a lot. I like the mystery. I like the way that we figure the mystery out. I like what clues we do get. Yeah, I actually really like the mystery here. The mystery is not the problem for me at all.
It was interesting how he did like the timeline of the actual story too, because it starts out 2 days, before the first like half an hour of the movie essentially, or 45 minutes, and then we get to that point where he finds I guess it wasn't half an hour, it was like 20 minutes, and then he gets the body, and then the movie keeps going for another like hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes. I don't know, that worked pretty well, I thought. Did you guys have a favorite scene?
Yeah, I think my favorite scene is when Brendan's about to smash Tug's car with the rock. And it's that one because
dude.
It goes to show that Brendan's like ready to do whatever he necessary to get to the next step in his path, and just the length he's trying to go. And it was funny just to see him holding that rock up in the air as Tug's coming out.
The way that Tug's like coming at him too is like
just muscling his way through the parking lot. It just played out really well. I liked it, and the drive, the drive-by shot is tense as hell. So
yeah, it was really tense actually. He did capture that shit pretty well. I just liked how Tug was like just fucking muscle manning over there. Like
Brendan actually looked like shaken. It's just those moments that were Brendan's so determined to get to the next step that he's doing that he either doesn't care or isn't expecting the repercussions, honestly.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
Yeah.
Probably the chase scene when he was getting
by the lug with the knife.
Yeah.
Really
Jeff,
well
I take
shot.
It for you too.
I don't know. On this watch, I actually really liked the very last. Well, not like the very last scene, but that last bit with the Pin and Tug. Like when the movie finally pops at the end. I actually really like that. It's kind of heartbreaking hearing the Pin in the background screaming for Brendan's help at the top of his lungs, like, fucking help me, help me. It's like, oh man, that's kind of brutal. Like, Tug's just in here beating this man to death. It's like, holy shit. I think that scene was done really well. I like the way the music ratchets up and like plays out at the end. It's got like that nice noir brass going on and like him kicking the gun in and shit.
There's definitely a like franticness kind of to Brendan's movements that make it more realistic for me too. Like the way that he just kind of like scrambles out of there and then like goes through the window and then like falls. And by the way, speaking of which, what the fuck was going on with dude? Like, why was Brandon getting all sick like for the last half?
Because he'd been swallowing a bunch of blood and probably had internal damage from all the
he's been roughed up through this whole movie.
That's why. Okay, I was like, what in the? Why is he so like sick? But he's getting his dick kicked in. That makes sense.
Yeah, Laura mentions at one point that he'd swallowed a lot of blood and shit.
Does that make you like really sick? Like I didn't know. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Probably shouldn't eat blood.
Dude, Tug and the Pin's people and just the Pin in general, man. Like I just can't with all that. Like all of the Pin's people in like those suits and the shoes and shit, and all of Tug's people looking like fucking Marshall Mathers and fucking
that scene. Dude, that scene where Brandon like comes down like and like leaves the house and like he looks over as he's about to leave and they're all like in that room watching TV and turn to look at him. I fucking laughed. I straight up was what?
Yeah, does the Pin's mom think that they're all just like cosplaying? Like I just don't.
She's so sweet, and that's like the kind of shit.
I'm just gonna go do
like,
something else in the other room.
Yeah, she literally says, "I'm gonna do something else in the other."
God.
Like, yeah, that kind of shit.
Never mind, we got orange juice, and it's country style.
Yeah, and I got a country cup
for
you.
She served this man a bowl of cereal, some juice. Like, what a fucking queen! If I went to go hang out at somebody's house and their mom offered me a bowl of cereal, she would automatically be top person of the year.
Yeah, that's some top tier mom right there.
She should have asked him like. She should have asked him like, "How do you take your juice?"
yeah.
Slides it across the table
on the rocks.
I liked how it played out that scene, still holding like some gangster element to it, but then it cuts. I feel like maybe it's part of Italian mob movies where they do shots of their feet or their shoes under the table, and we see these giant sneakers on the Pin. Just like he's a scrawny motherfucker. He's wearing size 14 fucking shoes.
What's up with that? Why
he's got a club foot. Yeah,
but why are we so focused on like the cinematography on that? Why are we panning out of that like 3 or 4 times?
He said at one point that he tried to convey character information via the shoes that they wore.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because there are numbers of shoe shots in here. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So like you see Tug and like the other soldiers wearing boots, and then like all the Pin's people are like wearing nice shoes, and then you see like.
Anytime Brendan comes into a scene, almost he starts with his shoes.
Yeah, he's got those fucking loafer, flat-foot ass fucking.
Yeah,
he's very focused on shoes.
Shoe fetish.
Maybe he's got a Tarantino ass fucking foot fetish. He's like, no, I need you to stick your foot in my mouth because it's important for this scene.
This is relevant, trust me.
Yeah, no shit.
Anybody got any favorite quotes?
There was a close. It may not be a favorite quote because I feel like there was probably other lines in here that were probably better. It was in the vice principal, the assistant vice principal's office where Brendan says, "I gave you Jared to see him eaten, not to see you fed." I like that.
That is a great line.
I liked that.
There's one point when Brennan says, "I probably seem a real cad."
Yeah.
Oh,
And
Joe.
at one point he said, "Do I have to break up you two apes?" to the pin and
Yeah.
the lug. And he said duck soup at one point.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
strange.
what the fuck? That kind of shit. Oh my god, Rian Johnson, what were you thinking, dude?
Well, I have a theory that he wanted to make a noir movie, but he had to set it in a high school because he had access to the high school because that was the high school he went to or something.
That's all
It
the money
says-
he had, yeah.
It says on Wikipedia that he did it because he wanted to try and keep it fresh and not like every other noir. So he's like, I want
As
to
if
make
there's
a
been
noir.
a noir movie for like decades before this movie.
I'm not saying it was the right call. I'm
No,
just
he
saying
said-
that
No, I
was
know.
the choice that he made.
That's why I can only imagine that's why he narrowed it down to putting it in a high school setting because there's
Yeah.
no other
It's also the
noir like
reason
that.
I feel like he came up with this idea in high school. This sounds like this.
Yeah.
This movie feels like something is some kid in like junior year of high school is like, God, I'm gonna put this fucking movie in high school. It's gonna be so cool. It's like my two favorite things.
Dude,
Well,
he
it-
definitely.
It says he wrote it after college, but
I
he
know,
could have
but it's got that
formulated the
high school
ideas. Yeah.
There were just a couple notes I wanted to pepper in before we wrap up. Brain has another reason why I always kept Brain. Maybe not why I always kept Brain as on the suspect list or whatever. Around the beginning of the movie, when Brain hesitates to tell Brendan who Emily has been eating lunch with, and now that I'm looking back on it, it's more like he's just being a buddy. He's like he knows that Brendan's gonna fucking put his crosshairs on whatever he needs to figure out what's fucking happening, and so he's like, whether he has any ulterior motives, which he doesn't, he just seems like an all-around buddy. Even if he could potentially be just part of Brendan's imagination, which is anyway. That's another story. I just he hesitates to tell him probably because he's being a pal, and he knows that Brendan is just more. Brendan is a danger to himself. One other thing, it probably didn't also mean anything, but they're seeing the eagle on the mailbox also portrayed down in the office. Like the Pin's office, I thought was kind of well shot, and just having his desk backwards and shit like that. Like he's actually a 26-year-old living in his mom's basement.
Yes.
Yeah, with a Kate Gold duck cane and shit.
Yeah.
And a whole ass lamp in the back of a van.
Yes, you were talking about dissonance in scenes, and that's one thing. Like seeing Emily in bright colors at the end of a dark tunnel, and seeing that lamp in the van. Those are just like, what the fuck is that doing there?
The Pin feels like somebody who absolutely got shoved in a locker.
Oh yeah.
Like this man looks like somebody who probably told kids in high school that like he was an actual vampire and shit.
Yeah, he was
He's
a
out
bad
here with
kid
a
for
cape,
sure.
bro.
And so he becomes the drug pin of
Yeah.
the high school community.
The one note that we didn't cover that I had that I did want to ask you guys about was, did you guys notice there was a couple scenes, and maybe it was just the lighting was bad in my room when I was watching it, so I couldn't see as well, but there was a couple scenes where there was just like a cigarette being lit, like you don't see anything else. Was that Tug essentially, or like what is that?
Tug doesn't smoke
thought-
cigarettes.
Yeah, Tug
Yeah.
doesn't smoke ciggies. I don't think
It's Laura, right?
Okay,
Sure, yeah.
so she's following him, and
'Cause
like
I know I've
yeah.
seen those. So I know I've seen those cigarettes being lit, and I didn't
that's
figure
all
out
you
exactly
could
where
see.
because it's not at the party where they initially
No.
just kind of meet up. It is after that. It's her, because that's the sign that Brendan knows she was there, was by the brand of the cigarettes when he sees in the ashtray.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that makes sense. Because I saw like literally, you can as far as I could tell, you could just see just a cigarette being lit. You could hear the noise of like
You're
the
right.
lighter
I remember seeing that either that once or twice. Yep, you're right.
and no face or anything. And I was just like, is this like what is he doing here? Yeah, it was like I guess a little clue for the audience.
Laura was a sly fox. I just liked the character.
Yeah. I thought so too, and gorgeous gal too. Like all the women in this movie were fantastically beautiful, and all the fucking men were handsome as fuck. So even Tug, like as a fucking muscle man mope, was like, okay,
They all fit their
Red
characters
line on
really
his
well.
Fucking forehead.
huh?
Did you guys notice that? He looks like he has blood dripping down his forehead.
He has a
like,
constant drip of blood from
No,
like,
it's supposed to be a scar.
Oh, is that
Isn't
what
it?
that is?
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought it was like a
Certainly doesn't
hair
look like
strand.
one.
that's what everyone says, but it's supposed to be a scar. Yeah.
What
Is it a
the
scar?
fuck?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I was like, is that dripping blood? No, it must be a hair strand, and I just like kind of like, wow, whatever.
Right,
But yeah,
yeah.
okay, it's a
we never
scar.
see him with his hat off, so
They should have
Yeah.
done a better job on that. Where was the $450,000 there, Rian Johnson? In your fucking budget. I thought this movie was pretty good. Like we covered, the cinematography is great, acting real fucking good for the most part, music great. The story needed some work, as we've talked about, and because of that, I'm probably going to give it a 6.5, 7 out of 10. We'll go 6.5. I like this movie a lot. I'll watch it again, but it's got a lot of problems. It's a directorial debut or whatever, so it's good, but not great.
give it a solid 7. Most of the lead deductions for the same things. There's the being able to take the noir in this setting seriously. But there were. This was. I think I'm the only person in this group who actually I enjoyed it much more the second time around than I did the first time. But that's just because I again had just a little bit better grip on keeping up with mysteries and detectives or shit. But in all of its flaws, like it had still had a lot of charm to me. Plenty of charm for a directorial debut. I liked the way the cast did their act. The cast put down their performances, and the music was on fucking point. Like there's a lot more I like about this movie than what I dislike. So even 7
Nice.
out of 10.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm glad Rian Johnson was able to keep making movies, and he made Knives Out and everything. There's the thing I love about it the most is the score, but I just don't get why this movie exists. It's a genre blend that I don't think works at all. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
Ooh, yikes!
I
Is
would.
that our lowest rate? No,
No, I gave
it a 1 at one time.
I don't think he did. I gave a 0 to Matrix, though.
That's right. You guys zip. It's a donut. We had a donut for Matrix Resurrections.
I wasn't
that.
even I wasn't even here for that one, but yeah, that sounds about right. That movie is.
I feel like
real bad.
there is a competent script to this movie. Like the mystery is good. The way it reveals information to you is good. It's a good mystery, but it just doesn't work in this aesthetic. I was bored watching it. I'd recommend the Blood Simple, the Coen brothers directorial debut.
Yes.
I need
Yeah.
to watch that.
That's on the list, buddy.
And also Miller's Crossing was very influential to Rian Johnson when making this movie.
Also on my list.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd also hover around a 7. Just the nostalgia I have for this movie in general. And I do find it entertaining. I find it fun. I find it charming in a lot of ways. I don't think it's perfect. I definitely think it's flawed. I can definitely see a better version of this movie, but overall didn't hate it. 7 out of 10.
So knowing that, Jeff,
Mm-hmm.
what does that say about your character as a person?
Oh, that I'm a huge piece of shit.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Tell me how that makes you feel.
I am glad I wrecked this over Memento, though. That was definitely the right call.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do love Memento, but I'm really glad you wrecked this because it again gave me a reason to come back to it. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there was a lot to chew on in just regards of
discussion
things for us to talk about. Yeah, in discussion with this movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like Memento would have been a lot more of us agreeing and not really exploring and just being like, "Yo, this movie's awesome." Versus
Yeah, like you've said before, the worst thing a movie can be is boring. Now, Memento isn't that, but like if you can't discuss a movie at least, then but what's it worth?
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Mac's our last rec.
Yep. So
Ooh.
I have pounded foreign language films onto you guys the past few times, and so I wanted to go with something that I know I've watched a few times, that I know I like, and I believe you guys enjoy this movie. I believe at least half of us have seen this movie. It is 1995's Dead Man from Jim Jarmusch.
Oh,
So yes,
ooh,
I don't think we've hit a Jim Jarmusch film. I was in between. I was thinking about doing a Lynch film, but I think I want to prepare more for a Lynch film. So I know it'd been a while since I watched this. I watched it last night, and yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of. There wasn't a whole. I wasn't expecting to have a session so soon, putting down bricks so quickly, which is fine. Like I'm glad we're putting down sessions as quickly as we have been.
I was
But
just telling Joe that I was surprised you haven't recommended Lynch yet.
Yeah, same. Just
It's
like
been
you do
2
with
weeks.
Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It'll come around, but I'm kind of glad in a clinch hit. This is my recommendation for
Oh yeah, I'm
this session. Dead Man
very
is
excited to watch that.